Hey, what's up, everybody? This is JC, pastor of Olive Church. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Please don't forget to share our audios. God bless you.
We are back again here at Underground, ready for some more wisdom, for some more knowledge that comes from the Word of God. We're going to continue with the series of dysfunctional families right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the topic of lack of character. But first, who do we got here? We got on my left.
This is Pastor JC, and I am the Mando.
Yeah. Nice.
What does Mando stand for?
For Mandalorian.
Okay, all them Star Wars fans, right? We got a special guest. Guys, welcome. Say your name.
My name's Ariana, and I guess I'll go with Ariwan Kenobi.
Oh, that's cool.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hey, that was original, huh?
I can't top that, but my name is just Abraham. I'm from Olive Church in Biology 1 and Neo-Z.
Just Abraham. I love your olive green shirt.
Thanks, man. It's just the Olive Church theme, you know?
Yeah, right.
Trying to support the church.
Nice. Heck yeah. All right. We're going to get it going right now, guys. I hope that this is a blessing for you. All that we're trying to do here is just to acknowledge what's actually going out there in the world and acknowledge that there is a problem, but more importantly, find the solution, find the roots so that we can start to live a better life and a more peaceful life. Anything that's trying to corrupt that, we're going to point it out right here, and you're going to see that in just a moment. Now, Pastor, can you tell us a little bit of what we went over last week?
Yeah, everything that Estevan said is absolutely correct. What we're trying to do is we're trying to sow a seed on people's hearts about who Christ is, and we're trying to reach out especially to the majority of people which have or is living under a dysfunctional family. And we're going to carry this topic, a whole series about it. We're going to be talking about different things. And last week, we were talking about how we adjust ourselves to a different identity that is not ours, right? We were talking about how sometimes our ego, our pride becomes our identity. You know, our low self-esteem, that becomes our identity. And these are the things that some of the people out there consider something normal. It's not normal. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Last week was about identity, and this week we're going to be talking about lack of character. Very important in family, and it's very important individually and personally. So we're going to be discussing a little bit about that right now.
Okay, yes. You're going to get some fire then.
Yes, sir.
I know why it's fire because it's making me a little uncomfortable. I don't know about you guys, but I know I lack a little bit in character. And character, what does it really mean? And how can, well, I'm not sure if you're going to touch on this on the topic today, but can you give us just like a brief definition of what you mean by lack of character in our families?
Sure. Character is what it means. A lot of people confuse character with an attitude. It's not an attitude. Character is lack of decision. When someone has lack of decision, then you have no character. You know, it starts with that. And I'm looking for the Bible verse that it talks about it. Abraham, talk to us a little bit about how have you found out that you used to lack character?
Well, not recently, it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was hearing the word character, and I was like, character, I always thought it meant like a movie character, and I was like, I really never thought it was decision making and how to make decisions and all that, but finally I realized that character means being able to say yes when it's yes and no when it's no. So when I finally realized that I didn't have that character, I realized that I grew up with no character. I grew up with being so emotional to the point where I couldn't say no to someone. I couldn't say yes, and my yes wouldn't be firm, and my no wouldn't be firm. And I just couldn't make decisions for myself. I was a big mama's boy to the point where I needed my mom to do everything for me. So finally, when Pastor, my stepdad at the time, when I met him like a couple more than 3 years ago, he started to show us what character was, and he started to actually tell us the definition of character. And once I realized the definition, I was like, wow, I lack character so much. I grew up with no character at all, and I realized that I need to grow in character to be able to live a peaceful life, to be able to live in the will of God. Right. So I need to have character to be serving Christ. And after that, it was very hard for me to grow in character. It was a lot of budging from me and my family members because I didn't have no character. But yeah, that's pretty much on the side of when I realized what character was when I couldn't do things for myself, and when I needed other people's support, or not support, when I needed other people's, I wasn't independent. That's when I realized that I needed that character.
Hija, can you tell us a little bit about what do you think character was? What have you ever confronted that word? Have you ever heard it? Have you ever used it? Or now that you're finding out what character is, what do you used to think? Like, he used to thought it was like a movie star or something, like a character of a movie, right? What do you used to think about character?
I just always thought that just the word character is just or to describe a person's character is like through the actions of someone else.
Okay, the actions of someone else. Yeah, pretty close, right? Esteban?
Before, I would have to say, probably just on the same thing as Abraham's saying, thinking that it's just some type of more movie character, or how we say it in Spanish, que carácter, or persona, like something that you can remember the person by, their character.
That's true. And you know what? This is one of the biggest problems we have in the world today. The problem of not recognizing the actual meaning of the words, right? The representation of the actual words that we read, that we understand, and the concepts, very important to understand. In the majority of time, we have a problem because when we don't understand concepts, we always go by what the popular vote says. Example, go ahead.
I probably, if I didn't know the definition of character, I would not be building character right now. Exactly. I just realized that because once I realized that that character is making firm decisions in your life and making the right choices. I mean, yes is yes and no is no. I wouldn't have been able to just. I mean, what's the other word for character? You really can't. You really can't base it upon another word.
And that's absolutely correct. Example, real quick. There's a situation with love, right? Everybody thinks, well, what is love? And not everybody understands the true concept of love. In reality, love is it's a decision, it's not an emotion. And people confuse that concept with an emotion. Love is not an emotion, love is an action, something you do, something you prove, something you show. But people misunderstand the concept of love, and they go by what they feel, right? And we all know that feelings are incongruent to reality. They don't exist unless you make them happen, right? But if we have the wrong concept of love, this is how people make mistakes. And the same thing with character. Character is one of the most important things. It's a fundamental that needs to be said in everybody's hearts, so we can understand and grow spiritually and emotionally. There's a lot of spiritual leaders out there, different organizations out there that grow their church without character, and they just grow the church with emotion. And when a church grows with emotion, or an organization grows with emotion, it's always about to break. It's fragile because it's built on something that is limited, that is going to pass. Emotions expire, they pass.
I always think of emotions like a roller coaster. That's why I always say I'm like an emotional roller coaster, because one day, like a specific church might be all the way down, like a big old downfall of the roller coaster, and then you have people getting angry and upset at each other because the emotions are not all the way up at the peak, and there's just conflicts arise there when the emotions are not all the way to the top like how they expect it to be.
Exactly. Let me read to you real quick the foundation of where the word character is born. Where does it come from and how? And our Lord Jesus Christ himself said this in Matthew 5, verse 37. It says, "But let your yes be a yes, and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one." Right? It's very clear. So if you don't have a set yes or a set no, and you're undecided, then that means that you won't be able to choose correctly because you're insecure. You're undecided. And then it says, "For whatever is more than these is from the evil one," meaning that the enemy can easily come and take advantage of your emotions and control you by that. And this is why we see so many people out there being governed by what they feel instead of about character, making decisions with intelligence, not with emotions. And in dysfunctional families, we see this a lot. And I always say this, the mother is the one that builds the children of identity. We talked about it last week. And the parent, the father, is the one that builds the children with character. Character is by the father and identity is by the mother. So when there's in a dysfunctional family, when the father's not there, or when the father is there but it's absent, in other words, that he works and is too tired, goes straight to the TV, and doesn't want to do nothing with the kids or homeworks or nothing, in reality, the children are growing without a father. He's there, but he's not there, right? Like the lights are on, but there's nobody there. It's like that. And some of us grew up without a father. So for those who grew up without a father, we grew up without character. Now, let's say people that grow up without a father and they marry, right? When they marry, they're gonna be husbands without character, and they're gonna be wives without character. So what's going to end up happening there? Well, it's a whole amount of different issues and circumstances that happen. And one of those is control. Control is what happens there. When somebody lacks character, it's easy to be manipulated and easily to be controlled. And usually the one that lacks character is the one that becomes a burden for the family, right? And there we see it a lot. We see it where the wife works all day and the husband doesn't work at all because there's no character there. Or the wife is the one that pays the bills, takes care of the kids, works and does everything, but the father does not do that, right? Well, the reason is because he lacks character. And lack of character brings problems because sooner than later, the person with no character becomes a burden to the family. And we see this a lot. And guess what happens when there's issues like that, in situations like that? Well, arguments between husband and wives, even children can tell when the parent lacks character. And they take advantage of the parents, right? Example, the typical cases about children that get in trouble every day in school, right? And when I hear this happening, I know immediately that the parents lack character. Why? Because the one in control is who? The child. It's in control, right? So why? Because as soon as they pick them up from school after getting in trouble, they don't have the character to discipline the child, and we see this happening a lot. And most of the time, it's because the mother or the father that lacks character grew up without character, and they don't know how to discipline or how to teach the character to their children, right?
Yeah. It's funny because when you said that when the family lacks character and when the kid is the one in control, it really brought back memories because I remember, man, I hate saying it now, but when I was younger, I know I'm only 22, but when I was younger, I felt like I know I was like that actually, because there was times where I would make my way around situations where I should have got in trouble and I should have been disciplined and I know it should have happened, but I know I controlled the situation to the point where I didn't have to get disciplined. And because of that, it affected me for I don't know how many years until now. And now I look back and I'm just like, okay, the lack of character in my generation, and I can't just say it's you can't point the finger to just someone, but the lack of character in that generation and in those teachings is what leads you to to failure in a way, because you might find yourself failing in school, always people pleasing, maybe not making it on time to your work, not being respectful to your boss, not being acknowledging authority, and in a way makes you rebellious. So I really, fire that touches me for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm sure everybody has experienced that lack of character. I'm sure you with your family, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
So, growing up, my mom has been a single mom for like quite a bit until she got remarried with my stepdad, which we're very blessed with them. But it's something that I noticed that you guys are pointing out how like I lacked a character, and I was like, okay, this is going straight to me. But I was like,
same, girl. Same.
Because I noticed that my yeses or my nos are not like affirmative in anything. Yeah. I'm always trying to please people. Like I'm always trying to I don't know. It's just that I never think about myself. I always try to like make the other person happy in a way, but absolutely. In the way because of the lack of a father figure, but in a way like I'm very blessed for having my mother for like taking on that job and everything.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, she did discipline me a lot. So when I was growing up, so I mean, I don't know. With God, like I feel like God is leading my way. So
absolutely, I agree with you. And and that's one thing that parents out there make a mistake. And I'm not pointing you out or nothing, but what I'm saying is, moms become dads too, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a place that cannot be taken. The dad is a dad's job to be filled, and the mom is a mom. So a mom can never be a father figure. A mom is always a mother figure, and the mother teaches identity, right? But when the character is lacked, of course, your mother is going to teach you according to what she learned character, right? And as you grow, as you get older and mature, you're able to understand that. Clearly the message needs to be, we need to be more like Christ. Like you said, we need to be helped, by Him. And once we learn that, then guess what happens? Then we become more mature, more efficient, and less insecure. Because when we lack character, the first thing that you can notice, and one of the symptoms of lacking character, is insecurity. And we feel insecure, But yes, the idea is this: as Christians, we have a responsibility, and that responsibility is for us to become independent of men completely, and our humans, right? Our parents, mm-hmm. And we have to become dependent of God. Mm-hmm. And once we learn that, then we build a character. But sometimes our father figure character is not very firm and not very stable and good. And our mother's character is not very stable and firm. And this is why it impacts me. The part with Jesus is in the synagogue and he's preaching. And then somebody tells him, Jesus, your mother and your brothers are outside. And his answer was, this impacts me. He says, my mother and my brothers are here with me. And what he in reality is saying is that we need to detach ourselves from those beliefs that we depend on, and we need to become dependent only on God and only on Him.
Amen. And that's why I think it's so important to be following the will of God, like bringing it back to what I said in the beginning, because that's where I'm growing my character right now. Serving God is submitting to the authorities and submitting to some of the leaders in our ministries. And if I'm not submitting to them, then I'm not learning anything. Like submitting to those authorities will help my character grow. If, for example, not throwing shade to my dad or anything, but I wasn't built with that character. And coming into a church system, organism where we all work together and we're working as one. All these people that I'm submitting to and the leaders are building my character, and I know that's coming from God. So that's why I'm so grateful that I got a second chance to be able to be built with character, with Christ. How Ariana was saying that we got to follow Christ's character now, because unfortunately I didn't get that character building, but I did get it from my pastor, which is helping me so much now in ministry. And I think that's why I'm so grateful to God, because once you start serving God, and if you did miss that character in life, anyone that's listening, if you did miss that character, if you did not get that character from your father figure, it's so easy to just come into a church and establish yourself here, be submitted unto a leader and listen to what they say, and I think your character will get built pretty quickly, especially if you ask God, and if you just let Christ know, you just want to tell him straight up that you just want to be submitted unto him and be more like him, your character is going to be built very quickly. So it's a thing that you can get your character built really quick. It's not too late.
That's another good point to see. How is your character being built? Because a lot of people grow up and without father figure, sometimes even without the mother figure, and no character build up at all. How does your character build up then? Well, hard circumstances and difficult life can build you in character. And sometimes it's very unfortunate when we don't have somebody to help us build in character. To teach us how to discipline, structure, order, organization. When we don't have that, then we have to learn ourselves. And a good question is, how do you know when you don't have good character? Can you give us examples of how do you know when somebody doesn't have character? Examples, simple examples.
I think maybe you are always late to something. I think I see that a lot in people where sometimes
that hurt me too. Always late.
Where
and I got a couple.
You don't show up on. I'm not perfect with my timing, but I really try to be on time in places. And when I see other people not being on time, that's when I think like they don't have a schedule. They don't have a set schedule, and they don't have a specific time frame to do things.
It's like lack of discipline, right?
So lack of discipline, and also that connects to lack of character. Is that an example?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's definitely.
Ika, what do you think?
I think one of the side effects that could be is the lack of that they're irresponsible in a way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So-
responsible with
Definitely.
things. Right?
They don't prioritize the main things. They always procrastinate. and
Lack
stuff.
of priority,
Yeah.
procrastination.
This
Absolutely.
is confronting me big time.
Like
I'm
leaving
like, whoa.
We're telling each other, right?
like leaving the cooler on. I think one of the big ones is and I recognize it so much because I still struggle with it. But it's people pleasing. Saying when your yes and your no's are so loose. They're not. They're it's like paper and you put it in water and it just rips up, right?
You always tell me no.
But yeah, that's my.
Yeah, also, it's as simple as this, Those people that are married, if you're listening to this and you're married and your husband, it's hard for you to say, babe, let's go eat somewhere. Where do you want to go eat?
I don't know.
And the wife will always say, well, go ahead and tell me, you pick. And then the husband will say, no, you pick. Let's go ahead and you pick where should we go eat. That right there is lack of character. It shows lack of character because we need to be secure of what we say and the words we say. And it's as simple as that, as choosing where to go eat. As getting up 30 minutes earlier so you can get there early to wherever you need to go.
Yeah.
Stop procrastinating. Take care of what you have to do tomorrow. Take care of it today. I'm guilty of that one. And my daughter over here from media, she knows that I lack character. What about, when we can't stop eating? We know that we have a problem.
That got me.
There too.
I'm doing good right now. So
Gym time tomorrow.
You know, that happens because we lack character. You know, we can't make a decision to say, today, no soda. Today, I'm going to stop eating this. Today, I'm just going to eat, you know, appropriate meal. You know what I mean? And we see it a lot. And it's something so simple, but it means so much. And this is where everything starts. You know, when we think we have our life together, trust me, if you make a analysis about yourself, you're going to figure it out that in reality you lack character. And there's things that you need to work on yourself in order for things to be well. Also, one of the things that I do is I talk to couples, you know, especially if they're going to get married. And one of my things that I do is I make sure they understand what character is. You know, people misconfuse also character with control. No. God gave us the order. The husband is the head, right? And the wife is the pillar that supports the family. Not like economically, that's not what I meant, but support, like moral support, spiritual support, right?
And that's the biblical way, right, Pastor?
That's the biblical way.
Because you get these people that think that the wife she's the one that takes care of the kids, so she's superior.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the lack of character comes in, where the husband, right?
Yes, and this is why God sets an order for us to follow. You know, the husband is not the one that controls. He's not a macho. He's not that. He becomes responsible and a leader. Yeah. And that's character. When the husband understands the responsibility and leads his family to, you know, a healthy life of emotional and spiritual and physical, then you know that you have a good steward there, a good leader, a good head with character leading the family. You know, one of the things about our family is that it's big, right? We are a blended family, my wife and I, 4 kids, her, and 3 kids, me. And everybody always asks me this question: how do you do it? How do you do it? There's 7, and you have 4 stepkids. Like 1% of blended families don't make it in marriage. They don't make it. This is the what do you call those?
Statistics?
The statistics, right? That I was reading the other day, and it's true. And the answer is that character. But sometimes when you have to discipline, it is confused with control. But it's not about control. This is about teaching and being responsible. Yeah. Now, character is, you have to be firm. I always say people, this is one of my favorite words, and I always tell people this. We need to learn to persevere what we feel. Persevere what we feel. Why persevere? Because perseverance is something that you do. It's an action. You don't feel perseverance. You go against your feelings when you're persevering. In other words, you're going to feel to do something, but you need to persevere to say no. So your body is going to want to, but your mind needs to be more intelligent and say no. And be firm to that decision. You know, and this is how you persevere. So you go against what you're feeling and your desires, and you persevere. And that's how you start building your character. This is how people ask me all the time, how do you build character? That's how you do it. You have to make a decision and stick to it and don't change it for nothing. You know, right now I was trying to give you a cookie and you said no cookie for me.
That's good character right there.
Because you had the character to say no to it. And this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So when we start building family, the first thing that needs to be said is
character.
The character.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's like it goes down to the like littlest thing if you think about it, because how you say, you know, perseverance. Through perseverance comes character. And you persevere through everything, to even the little things. For example, that cookie. What did it take to say no, you know? Like, it probably took everything to say no, you know?
Yeah, especially at work when I seen them fries.
Right? And that's what it is. But there's a blessing behind that. There's a blessing behind that perseverance. And it's that character. And if you're still having trouble understanding the character is what's is how Christ is working inside of you, and how God is working to mold you into the character of Jesus. And overall, you're probably thinking if maybe you've never been to church, maybe you've never heard of the Word of God. You're probably thinking, well, why is this going to help me? Like, I know about character, or I know this. Well, building character and acquiring the character of Jesus Christ through the Word of God, just how we're learning it here at Olive and at Underground, it's going to help you be successful in anything you do, to the littlest things. We have a perfect example with the cookie. Another perfect example is being on time to your duties, saying yes when it's yes, and saying no when it's no. Think about that's attractive from a person. Like, that's something that's like, wow, that's a firm person. That's a dependable person. And that, again, going back to like, how can I put this into my life? This is exactly this character building and persevering through, just how Pastor was saying, persevering through your emotions, persevering through what you feel, through the pain, understanding that it's just temporary, and that there's going to be an outcome of that. There's going to be a result, which is going to be built character. That's going to take you to be having a successful life, whether it's in ministry, whether it's at home, whether it's in your job, in your business, anywhere you go. And the best part, when there's biblical principles there, is that you're representing Jesus Christ, the light, the Son of God. And that's the whole purpose even of this podcast. So amen to that, Pastor. Again, fire.
Amen. And it's like I said, it's understanding, as simple as understanding the concepts of who you are. Now, where does this all fall into? Dysfunctional family. If you grew up in a dysfunctional family, if you know your family is all about drama, problems, bad situations, bad economy, mediocre thoughts,
Gossip.
All that stuff, gossip, all that stuff, it's because we lack that character. The character of being able to hold what we feel and do something totally radical than what you're used to. A couple of the people that I've been counseling, that's the first thing they say. This morning somebody told me, I want to change myself completely, 100%. I need to be somebody else. And my comment to him was, you need a lot of character to be able to do that. You're going to have family against you. You're going to have friends against you. Yeah. You're going to have other people to be able to achieve that, because people are used to you. And when you're trying to achieve character to get to the final purpose, which is peace.
Again, thank you for listening. Please stay tuned for new content every week. God bless.